You're listening to the Mile You're In podcast. Everything running related, from 100 meters to 100 miles. And now, here's your host, Phil Patterson Jr.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mile You're In podcast. Before I get into the episode, as always, let me thank my Patreon supporters, Becky, Francine, and Mr. Anonymous, for continuing to show their love each and every month on Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, the link is in the show notes, or you can hit me up on social media and I can explain it in more details for you. I also want to shout out, I wish I would have got your name, but on Friday I took my son to go see some of my friends at my old job, old co-workers, and while I was there, a gentleman came up to me and was like, "Hey, are you Phil?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I love your podcast, man." And it just it made my day, because it reminded me of what I just said on the last episode, that it's not how many listeners you have, it's the quality and type of listeners you have. And that was a reminder that there are people that are listening and people that enjoy the stories I share and the lessons I try to teach and what I do on this show. So I appreciate that. If you're listening, I'm sorry I didn't even think to ask your name, but that compliment and the support, it means a lot. It definitely made my day. And with that said, I want to just get right into this episode, and I don't know where to really start, so I guess I'll just start from the beginning, because I think the title kind of gives it away that this is something that has happened twice now. But last September in 2023, we are in 2023. 2022. Oh God. I'm not feeling very well. I probably should have waited to put this out, but I have nothing else to do right now because I'm supposed to be resting. So I wanted to do it. I needed something to do. So in September 2022, I was out for my typical Sunday run. Around that time, 20 to 40 miles was my average. So this run was like a 26 to 27 mile run. I think it was somewhere in between 26 and 27. At that time, I was doing those runs where I would drive out to locations and run just to fill in more spots on the map that I was trying to do. So this was out, and I believe it was Wellington. It was about an hour drive. I got there real early in the morning. This is when I used to do my runs, sometimes 1, 2 in the morning. And just from the get-go, I didn't feel good. I did not feel good at all. Even at like mile 2 and 3, I started thinking of like shortcuts I could take just to make it shorter and at least try to hit 20. But I did not feel like I had it in me to even mentally push as much as I usually do. So around mile 3, I ended up using the bathroom, and it kind of made me feel a little better and got me moving a little faster. So I kind of pushed through that, but I could tell about 7-8 miles in that it was way more humid than typically, and my sweat rate was way higher than it normally is. And at that time, I was running with an old phone. I didn't run with my working phone, so I just had a phone strictly for music, so I couldn't really use Google Maps or anything to search the area around me to see where a store or gas station would be. And I couldn't even really trust like just general knowledge of the area, because it was still so early in the morning, around 4 or 5 o'clock at these times, that I didn't know if anything would even be open. So I had to kind of be careful with my hydration that I did have on me, because I had to try to make it last until I could get somewhere where I could buy something as well as refill what I had on me. So, I'm pushing through the best that I can. and trying to be safer with my pace. And I get about halfway and I start feeling like that cramping and the dizziness and lightheadedness. And I went to sit down on a railing, and as I sat there, I actually started to feel worse. So I just decided, all right, let me get up, start walking, and just be cautious, maybe walk a little bit more or walk until we find a gas station. But we really got to just pace ourselves here and try to conserve the hydration at this point until we find something. So I get to a gas station, refuel, rehydrate, bring a little extra with me, knowing what's going on, and I start to feel better and I get moving faster again. And I figured, okay, I'm caught up now, let me stay ahead of it. And I felt like I was doing that, but that was like one of the first times I ever found myself sweating, even when I would take my walk breaks. Typically that's where the sweat would stop and I'd start to dry off or cool down, but even walking I was still sweating at a high rate. So I knew I had to definitely stay ahead of the hydration at that point. So I start to feel a certain way again, and not having a phone to be able to look, but thinking I know the area because I had run a lot of the cross streets over those couple of weeks. I assumed there was a couple stores going to be coming up in the next few intersections, but I was wrong. And by the time I did find something, I was so far behind again in my hydration that I really should have taken more at that gas station. But knowing I was only about 4 miles away, I figured this would be enough to get me to my vehicle. And I knew I parked at a gas station that was 24 hours and I would be fine. I'd get there and get everything I need, and then I'd be driving home in the AC and I'd be fine. But that wasn't the case, because about 2 miles later, with about 2 miles or so to go, it really finally hit me, and I was feeling dizzy. I was feeling lightheaded, like I was gonna throw up or I was gonna faint. But I knew I couldn't stop because everything was gonna seize up on me. But it got to the point where I felt like it was worth that risk, because I just envisioned myself fainting and falling out either on the sidewalk or into the road, or something happening and hitting my head or whatever. So I see a tree, and it's close to, like, if you're familiar with, like, at least in Florida, we have a lot of these shopping plazas that have these like man-made looking lakes that are typically like 1 feet full of water. So the tree was next to this thing, and I could see a breeze pushing the leaves on the tree and kind of making little ripples in the water. So I'm like, all right, let me go sit down there. Maybe I can cool down and feel better, and then just walk the last 2 miles. But the moment I sat down, that cramping and seizing started happening. So I got up quickly before it got too bad, and I almost fell over, just feeling like I was gonna faint. So I had one of those moments that you probably have heard of, read about, seen on TV or sometimes in movies, where you at some point you get this level of fear. You feel this level of danger that you kind of throw out your sanitary rules. You get this level of, I'll do anything I have to survive. And that's the mode that kicked in my brain as I looked around, seeing nothing that was going to get me keep me safe, other than this 1 foot body of water that I could possibly get into and maybe cool down. Like, maybe if I got myself cool down with the water, but then also got up and got by the tree with the breeze, it would enhance the coolness and bring my body temperature down and get rid of all the symptoms I was experiencing. And even though that water, I checked, it looked shallow enough that there shouldn't be any gators in there, but there could have been the possibility of snakes. So I was still taking a risk. But also, it looked and smelt disgusting, literally like poop. And I was even kind of gagging as I got into the water because I was just like, man, this is so disgusting. I'm going to have to take about 8 showers to clean this off of me. But again, I'm trying to stay alive here and stay safe. And because, again, I didn't have a working phone, it was not like I could really call anybody for help. So, and actually, before I get to that, let me touch on that. I eventually learned, as I gave this phone to my son to play with later on, months later, and he accidentally called 911 and police showed up at my door. They explained to me that, you know, you hold down the power button long enough, it'll call 911, and that's what he did. And had I known this, I would have done this during that run. But again, I didn't. So in my mind, I have a phone that doesn't have service. I can't call for help. So I get in the water. I stayed. I didn't let it go any higher than my shoulders because I did not want it getting in my mouth, nose, eyes, ears, none of that. I was trying to keep it shoulder down. And I started to feel a little better. The cramping was stopping. I figured, okay, this could maybe get me at least another half mile to a mile. And because I seen intersections off in the distance. So I'm like, maybe at that one there's going to be something or another one. So I go to get up and the cramping it got so bad. And I failed to mention this first, but this was also at the bottom of like a 15 to 20 foot slope. So I was basically having to walk uphill to get back to the sidewalk and the road. So I don't know if maybe that incline is what stressed out the muscles, or maybe just again now putting all my weight back on these muscles where in the water I was floating and took the pressure off. But my legs seized up and cramped up so bad that it literally crippled me. I fell like hands and knees into the grass, and knowing that there's very few cars driving by and the ones that are probably aren't going to hear me, I did my best attempt for a couple minutes, literally screaming for help, hoping somebody would hear me at the bottom of this hill. But I felt like that was hopeless. So I was grabbing the grass so hard that I could feel that, like I was pulling the grass out of the dirt that it was in to like pull myself up, because again my legs were cramped. I couldn't crawl, so I'm pulling myself up till I get to the top of this, you know, incline, and I get to the sidewalk, and then I like just start rolling on my side, you know, like that stop, drop, and roll thing. I start rolling till I get to the sidewalk, and I have my vest, and I'm kind of like waving it, just like hoping somebody's gonna see me and stop. And in my head I'm thinking, you know, I look dirty now because I just got in this nasty water. I got a scruffy beard. They probably think I'm homeless and I'm strung out on drugs right now, having some kind of issue episode, and no one's gonna stop for me. But I just still kept waving the vest, hoping somebody was gonna stop. And I almost got hopeless, to be honest. Like I remember rolling over face first, putting my head right into the cement, and just kind of praying, like I don't know what else to do, God. Like I'm screaming for help, I'm waving down, nobody's stopping, because now there were cars that could see me at this point. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I can't call for help, and this is it. Like I'm gonna probably die right here. Like that was the thought going through my head. And I heard a voice kind of off in the distance, and I lifted my head up, and I see this guy running. He had parked his car in the lane and just started running over to me and asked me what was going on. And I explained to him, and he's like, I got a bottle of water in my car. And he goes and he grabs it and he gives it to me, and I'm trying to drink it, think, you know, just to get something in me. And he's like, hey, there's a gas station down the street, give me a minute, like I'll go buy you some Gatorade and some more water. I'll be right back. And he went, but I guess it was closed. So he's like, hey, you know, like, do you want me to call 911? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I really don't want to do this. Like, I know 2 miles from here, I'm parked at a 24-hour gas station. Like, can you throw me in your trunk? I don't care. Like, just drive me there, and, you know, I'll give you my card so you can run in the store and buy me what you need. You could drop me off in the grass by my truck. I don't be there. I should be okay. So he had, I don't know if I realized this initially or maybe like afterwards, but I guess his girlfriend or his wife, a woman, ends up getting out of the passenger seat, and they both, you know, do that thing where I put my arm around each of their shoulders, and they kind of dragged me because I couldn't really bend my legs. They were cramped up, and so I was kind of being drugged to their vehicle. They had like I think it was like a SUV, something like that, a Tahoe, something. But they put me in the back, and because I couldn't bend my legs, they had to leave the trunk open. So here I am, like, hanging onto the seat, their back seat, with my legs hanging out. Meanwhile, this other lady pulls up, seeing what's going on, and she's like, do I need to call 911? I'm like, no, I'm fine. She's like, all right, well, let me ride behind you guys just in case he falls out. Like, nobody runs him over. And I realized she's already on the phone with 911. And I'm like, no, dude, like, you can hang up. And she's like, well, I'm going to stay on the phone with them just in case. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So they drive me down the street into the gas station where my car is parked. The couple runs in. They get me some Gatorade, some water. They even bought like a bag of ice to put on me to try to bring my body temperature down. And it's just not helping. And obviously at that point, I'm so depleted that it would have taken more than that, or it's not gonna I'm not gonna feel better instantly, right? It's gonna take some time. But I wanted to feel better right away. I needed to. It was just, the pain was excruciating. I relate it to when I've dealt with my back spasms and sciatica issues. Like, it was excruciating and crippling. And the lady's on the phone with, like, she's asking me all these questions because I could hear her. She had it on speakerphone, and the 911 operator is asking her questions about me, and she's like trying to answer them and then asking me, and I'm like, tell him I'm this, tell him that, like, giving him the information. And finally I'm just like, yeah, you know what, just tell them to send the ambulance, because like this is bad. Like, I'm in danger. So the ambulance comes and they put me in, and they're trying to like, I forget what it was they were trying to do, but they were checking my vitals at the same time, and they're like, look, because I was like, can you just give me an IV? And they're like, well, no, if we do that, we have to take you to the hospital. If it's not something we could do right here, you know, maybe just let you sit in here with the AC and give you some fluids. No, like, if we got to do IV, you got to go to the hospital. And it was just so bad. I was like, all right, well, let's do it. And it was on the way. So I asked them, you know, I was like, here, I got my key. Can you, like, my truck is parked right here at this gas station. Can you, can one of y'all just run in, grab my phone, grab my wallet, and let's go. So they did it. The guy hopped out, got my stuff. They take me to the hospital. They told me that it was like I had done severe damage to my liver or my kidneys, one of the two, maybe both. They're like, look, it can be like, it's not what's the term, like, it's fixable, but they're like, we got to pump you with these fluids to get your body operating at the right way, so that your organs and everything can work and start to help your body recover. So it's like, it's not a permanent damage, but like, we need to take care of you right now type of damage. So you know, I'm in the ER, and they're asking me these questions, and they're like, what were you doing? And I said, I was, running like 26 miles. And they're like, that alone, they were like, what? That's crazy. And I was like, I just did 65 last week. Cause this was the week after I had run Wildcat and just dropped out at like the 65 mile mark. So I'm like, I just did 65 last week. They're like 65. And because I was in my running gear, I literally just opened my arms so that they could see my tattoos where it says 100 miles. And they were like, wait, you run on? And I'm like, yes. So I'm like, look, this isn't a first time. Like, this is normal for me. 26 miles is a light training run for me, So once they got that in their head and they realized that I was not somebody just out doing something crazy for the first time, like this was a normal thing for me, they're like, okay, they kind of eased up on stressing certain things and asking certain questions, and they started me on the IVs. They got me going. Everything started to feel better, like dramatically and drastically, in a very fast and quick rate, to the point where I was ready to leave after a couple hours, but they were like, no, we need to make sure everything is working normally inside your body first. We understand you feel better, but your vitals and your blood work don't look good. So they kept me. It was a little over 24 hours that I was there. But once they could see I was using the bathroom regularly, I was moving around normally, my levels were back to normal. They were still trying to keep me longer, but I'm like, no, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm good. Get me out of here. So they discharged me, and the next week I was back out doing another 20 to 25. I don't remember what I did the following week, but I was, I took the week off, and 7 days later, I'm back out there doing my run, and I was fine, and I've been fine since. Until this weekend. Now, this weekend, what was weird about this is it was a lot cooler than that run. Like, when I started to run, it was like low 70s. There was a breeze. I wasn't sweating as much. Even when I did start sweating, like close to the halfway point, because I was only doing 21 and a half this time, I felt like almost cold because I was sweating, but the breeze and the cooler air was still kind of keeping my body temperature down. So I was sweating, but I didn't feel hot. I wasn't feeling any of the cramping, any of the lightheadedness, any of the dizziness, nausea, none of that stuff. Like, I felt great. I was moving great. I was singing and rapping along to my music. Like, I felt so much different, like pretty much the total opposite compared to when this happened last year. So in my mind, nothing is wrong. I'm good. And I get to about like mile, I want to say like 15 and a half, close to 16. And I start to feel a hint of it. And I'm like, all right, I know I got the gas station coming up in 2 miles. So you know what, I'm going to walk a little bit more here until I get there. And I'm going to take it easy. And I walk into the gas station, and I bought like an actual sandwich. Figured I'd get some grease, some salt, some sodium, get some food in me, get my drinks and everything. And I decided I was going to sit down and eat first. But I sat down, I took one bite of the food, it felt like I was going to throw up, and started feeling lightheaded. I'm like, oh, shoot. Like the title says, oh no, it's happening again. So in my mind, it's okay. We don't feel as bad as we did last year, but I feel those signs coming. Let me walk, see how far I can get. I have my phone, and now at this point, it's very busy. So even if something happens, someone's going to see me if I happen to fall out and I need help. But I have my phone, I could call for help. So I walked the last 4.5 miles. I get home. I take a long cold shower. I eat something. I drink some fluids. I'm rehydrating. I'm resting most of the day with my feet up, and my heart is like palpitating. They said the word at the hospital, but my heart is fluttering. I'm having, you know what I mean? Like the rate is high, the beats are strong. There's no like chest pain or anything, but it's still like I'm feeling dizzy. I'm feeling lightheaded. And the heart rate is like the fluctuations and the inconsistencies had me nervous, had me worried. And I kept doing what I could, thinking I was going to feel better. And finally, about 12 hours later, about 9:30 at night, because I finished my run around 9. And around 9:30, I was like, I got to go to the emergency room. Like I can't. Well, actually, let me rewind because I did something first before that. I Googled, because I was really trying to avoid going to the emergency room. I Googled mobile IVs. And there's actually companies that you can pay. A nurse will come out and they have different IVs. So I paid this nurse for 2 IVs and she gave me these hydration IVs. And while she was there and the IVs are getting in my veins and my blood stream and everything, and like I was feeling better. My heart rate felt like it still was like having issues, but like it was getting better. I finally was feeling cold, which was good because I felt warm the entire day no matter what I did. I was starting to feel sleepy, which I hadn't felt tired at all. I felt hungry. I wasn't really feeling hungry. So like things were feeling normal and getting back to normal. So I'm thinking, okay, this is good. Like this is, I needed an IV, which is what I assumed. But an hour later, the symptoms are coming back. And that's where I was like, you know what, maybe I needed more. Or maybe it was the wrong kind of IV. Like it didn't have everything I needed. So that's where, now I'm like, okay, I got to go to the emergency room. So I go, and because of the symptoms, they're doing it all. The EKG, the CAT scan, the x-rays, they're doing all the tests, and they're like, your heart is fine. It's just, obviously potassium, sodium, like the different levels are kind of dangerously low and need to be raised. So they get me on the IVs, and again, they felt like I was good enough that they actually released me after a couple hours. They didn't keep me overnight. They thought they were going to, but they ran the test and they looked and they're like, you seem good enough for us to let you go. And they did. And I'm still, even right now, I kind of feel it. Like, each day it seems like it's getting a little better, but at times I feel my heart starting to race. And yesterday, I even contemplated going back to the emergency room, but it subsided and I felt better. And today I felt good during the day, and again I get home and I don't know, like it's just, I think what I've noticed is when I'm moving, because you're in motion, I don't feel it, but when I sit down and settle down, it's still kind of high. And that's what concerns me, is it's like that shouldn't be happening. It's when I'm calm, it should calm as well. So I will definitely monitor it, and if it doesn't improve, I'll go and see somebody, because it's kind of lingering longer than it should. But part of me wonders if it's kind of also me stressing when I feel it, and kind of anxiety causing like a stronger heart rate. So I'm trying to play it out, but it's starting to linger. Like I feel like it should be better by now. It shouldn't be. I should feel better. Almost, was it 72 hours now since, or 48 hours since the IV. So I kind of just wanted to get on here and share those stories, because I had been meaning to tell the last year's version, but just other topics were coming to mind first, and then this happened, so I was like, I definitely am going to talk about it. But now that I have trying to just sit around and do nothing. I have more time, so I decided to do this. But one of my friends asked me, like, how are you going to tie this into life? And I said, I'll think about it, maybe wing it. And another friend was like, oh, is this going to be an importance of hydration issue? And yeah, I'll say that. Like, it is important to stay hydrated. But that's the thing, like with both of these runs, I didn't do anything different than every other Sunday. It's just the weather crept up on me. And this time, because I was remembering the symptoms from last year, I was smarter than I was then, because I knew what to do to be safer and to prevent the symptoms from getting worse. But it still was a different scenario. And it's like, I've run 100-mile races in worse weather than this and been perfectly fine. So it's like, it's not like I did anything different that I feel would have triggered this. So trying to find that one factor that would have caused this, I can't. Everything was done the same as it always has been. So I don't know what hidden root cause is there, but we got to find it, because I got to make sure this doesn't happen again. I got to be safer. I got to be smarter. So as somebody else said, maybe it's age. And that, I guess that's where I'll tie it in, that we have to make adjustments. I'm going to be 40 soon. My eating habits are not the best. It's probably something I'm going to have to consider changing soon. My drinking habits, more water. I need to consume more water and more electrolytes, not so much soda. That hurts to say, but it's true. We have to take care of our bodies, especially the older we get. So it's like everything in life. Things change, and there's things that are out of your control that you have to adapt to. And it also makes you grateful, because I miss running. I would normally have run today, and I can't, and I'm probably not going to run for the next couple of days. And then I get that antsy feeling. I want to get going, but it's, you have to adapt. There's going to be those obstacles. I talk about them all the time, and things change, situations change. So you just got to be smarter, or if not, you're going to keep putting yourself in the same situation. So if you are an athlete, be smart, take care of your bodies, not just during, but also before and after, and learn from your mistakes. If something goes wrong, you gotta figure out what caused it, why it happened, and try to avoid it the best you can. Hopefully I start feeling better here soon and get back running, and hopefully by the next time I do an episode, I can report back and tell you everything's fine and back to normal. So if you're one of those prayer warriors, you're one of the praying type, then I will take and accept any and all prayers that y'all want to send my way. If y'all are medical experts, y'all can send me some medical advice too. Some little home remedies and tricks you got up your sleeve, feel free to send those my way too. But I just wanted to share those stories, because a lot of people will see me on social media and posting these runs and everything looks good, or you'll hear me sharing all these stories where things go good, or I feel great, or I have success. And it's a reminder that we're not perfect. Our bodies are not perfect, and we have flaws and we have weaknesses. And with technology and science, we have the ability to take care of ourselves better than we may have in the past. So you got to take advantage of that and the knowledge and wisdom, and the power of research. Technology is at our hands. So you got to do what you got to do to put yourself in the best situation, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, every aspect of life. So with that said, I guess that's where I'll leave you guys for this week, is to really just take care of yourself and look into ways you can take care of yourselves even better and put yourself in the best position, especially if you got kids and you want to be around. I don't know about you, but I want to be here as long as possible for my son. He was here with me when I was struggling, and he wanted to play with me, and I'm like, hey, daddy can't play right now, daddy's tired. And he could tell something was wrong, and he was like, do you need a Band-Aid, do you have a boo-boo? And it's like, that's the love, the unconditional love of a child. And that's why we fight. So take care of yourselves, do what you got to do to be there for your kids and your loved ones that care for you and that want to see you around as long as possible. So until the next episode, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Mile You're In podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.